Last year, the theme was Run It Back. This year, the theme is Get It Back. Ladies and gentlemen, your Chiefs are back. It's time for a Mitch Holthus training camp update brought to you by Hy-Vee, the official grocery store partner of your Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid on having a baseline of knowledge so they can fight through camp fatigue.
So there'll be this foundation that you can really bank on. And one thing that you forget about training camp is that it's hot, it's humid, and you're sore. So when you get those elements involved with the human mind, you want it to kind of come second nature as opposed to have to add thinking to the equation. You want them to already have a pretty good idea on what they do, how they line up, so they can giddy up and they can go when they're tired.
And with that, we welcome in the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. Mitch, it's good to have you back. It's August, and things are kind of normal again.
I humbly bow to you guys. Yeah, I missed you. And yes, it feels almost normal. We've had big crowds here in St. Joe, but there's still COVID rules to follow. But it's been a really good start to this camp. You know, that cut from Andy, one of the most underrated parts of Andy Reid, and we know he's going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's number 4 all time, I think, in wins. But what's underrated, guys, about him is how he superbly prepares a team to start a season. In September, in the 8 years that he has been Chiefs coach, he has 20 wins and 5 losses. 7-1 on the opening weekend, and 5 of those 7 wins have been on the road. He attacks OTAs. He attacks training camp. You don't mess around, no wasted days, and they will be unquestionably one of the most prepared teams for the season when they break this camp.
I saw that Kyle Long is going to start the camp on the PUP list. What are the odds he's still there after August 31st, which is an important date because that would determine whether or not he misses some games in the season? And where does he kind of fit in terms of the factor of this offensive line rebuild?
It's really, I think, the most fascinating, not just Kyle Long, but the offensive line is the most fascinating discussion surrounding this camp because 2 rookies are rising and rising fast. Now we're in pads tomorrow for the first time. That's always a litmus test. But with Trey Smith at right guard, it might be the steal of the entire draft. A first-round pick. He was one of the top high school recruits when he signed at Tennessee. He's starting. If we're playing tonight at Central Stadium and we're playing the Vikings tonight, he will be the starting right guard. And then with Creed Humphrey starting at center. And Mike Remmers has been out, the veteran, so that means that Lucas Niang would start at right tackle. Now, I'm giving you that answer because offensive line, this is a group that has been completely revamped. It's not out of the realm of possibility. And Kyle Long, I think, is a little further along here on the 2nd of August than I thought he would be. He might be able to be a starter at right tackle because right now Trey Smith is the talk of this camp. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I see some Will Shields in that kid.
Oh, those are big words. Be careful.
I am going to be careful, but I'm watching him going, that's the closest thing we've had to Will Shields since Will Shields. Now, he's a rookie, I got it, but he's powerful. He can move. This is going to bring all of Andy Reid's playbook into action, all of his screen game. We'll talk about the tight ends later in these shows, but that's another big piece. But the offensive lining, whether Kyle Long's there or not, this offensive line will be much better than what you saw in Super Bowl 55.
Mitch, you hinted at it at the beginning. You know, there's still COVID protocols going on across the league. We talked about it all last season. You mentioned, there are 3 races. There was the race for the division, the race for the number 1 seed, and the race to beat COVID, and the Chiefs managed to do well in all 3. What is the status of the team heading into this season? What kind of approaches have you seen this year compared to last year? I know our situation's a little bit different, but is that attention to detail that was so important last year, they still appear to be in place this year?
Oh, yeah, and I think that the stakes just went up because the league, what they announced before the start of training camps, where if you have a situation, let's say like the Phillies had right before the All-Star break where 5 guys were either close trace or tested positive, if that happens this year, you can forfeit a game. There's no messing around with it anymore. And although the standards are laxed somewhat, for example, I'm in a certain tier. I have to wear a colored wristband. I can't go out into the crowd. Hey, there's folks from Omaha. Yeah, we listen to you in 1620 The Zone. I can't go out there and pump fist and high five them and all that. I'm in a tier now. So, and you don't know who's vaxxed or unvaxxed. It's still very much in play, COVID protocol, and not as rigid, but they're watching it really closely because the stakes just went up. You could forfeit a game that could completely wreck your season. So we've had a couple guys test positive. James Winchester, the long snapper, he's back. Darwin Thompson, the running back, who's played a lot for this team, he's not back. But overall, the team, again, is handling it okay.
Well, we know football is very close because now we get daily updates with Mitch for the next few weeks. And you're back in St. Joe, so, I mean, that's good. I'm sure the Hy-Vee there missed you.
They did. The whole staff was waiting for me as I drove up. It was an emotional experience. And they said there's no salad bar still because of COVID, but you can have everything else. And they all handed me a Mahomes Crunch cereal box, and I thought, I'm home. I'm with my people.
Hey, I got to say, the wife and I have discovered the Hy-Vee breakfast at our neighborhood Hy-Vee in Lincoln is top-notch. I mean,
have I not told you guys
I
that?
know, but I mean, have you seen the size of those pancakes? They're huge.
Oh, they're fantastic. I remember growing up in Smith Center, Kansas. We had the Marine Corps pancake feed as the highlight of the year.
Yep.
And you can have that every day. At those breakfasts at Hy-Vee are way underrated.
Very underrated. I strongly recommend them. All right, Mitch, we will look forward to these daily updates every day at 4:35, and you don't even have to deal with Stibbs anymore. I mean, everything's coming up, Mitch, in 2021.
Did you ever see the movie What About Bob? Classic.
Yep.
Richard Dreyfuss, Bill Murray.
Yep.
To me, it's like, what about Stibbs? If he's close or even just driving by the station, I'll start to fidget. So it'll be a debut throughout Omaha. What about Stibbs?
What about Stibbs? Mitch, enjoy it. Thanks. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
See you guys.
There he is, Mitch Holtis, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. Our training camp updates are brought to you by Hy-Vee, official grocery partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not kidding, folks. And first of all, the prices were very reasonable. And big pieces, big sausages, huge pancakes. I mean, you get full at the Hy-Vee breakfast.
In college, friend and I used to get Hy-Vee Chinese a lot. Hi Chai.
It's good.
It's my favorite.
They do it well.
They do.
They do it very well. All right. We'll be looking forward to our conversations with Mitch throughout the next couple of weeks. Coming up next, we have a happy hour. Speaking of the NFL, before we move on, and we'll be joined, by the way, by Dirk Chatwin of the Omaha World Herald coming up. But today we learned that Carson Wentz will undergo ankle surgery. He's out 5 to 12 weeks. And huge blow for the Colts. But they are going to go ahead and repair his foot and try to make a go of it. But now it's going to be interesting. Jacob Eason's going to take over at quarterback. We've got some stats on that coming up in a different version of What You Say. Without Josh here today, we're going to do What You Say a little bit differently today. We're just going to mention some other stories. And Sip mentioned this, too, during his interview. Quinn Ewers, the high school quarterback out of South Lake Carroll down in Texas, opting out of his senior season in high school and immediately enrolling at Ohio State. And it's all due to NIL. More details on that, including some observations from friend of the program, Ari Wasserman, that we'll share with you. That's coming up next hour. But coming up next, it's a happy hour, and Dirk Chatwin's going to be along. We're going to talk about his radical plan, which I kind of call a back-to-the-future plan for college football that I really enjoy. We'll see if you like it as well. That's next. It's happy hour time on 1620 The Zone.